So Democrats appear divided now over the current iteration of the Mideast peace conflict. Some progressives are criticizing Israel's move, as well as President Biden. For example, Senator Bernie Sanders calling the Israelis, quote, government-allied right-wing extremists. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez claims that President Biden is, quote, dehumanizing Palestinians. Congresswoman Omar, is calling Israel's latest move straight up terrorism. Well, we've got the perfect guest to weigh in on all this, former Secretary of State as well as the director of the CIA. He is now a Fox News contributor, Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, great to have you. Let's start there where
Great to be with you.
Thank you. Let's start where Ilhan Omar, the Congresswoman, left off. She claims that Israel is guilty of terrorism. I checked myself with the United States State Department's official government website. Turns out Hamas is still officially designated a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S. government. Tell us why, and tell us why that designation is pretty meaningful. It's not just a label.
No, Jillian, it's very important. We're very cautious and careful in how we designate terrorists here in the United States. We always make sure we have the facts right, and you have it right. Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, are terrorist organizations. We know that the Palestinian Authority, too, has contributed to the terror that's taking place today on Israeli civilians. Israel has every right to defend itself against this terror. We would do it here at home. If there were rockets being fired into the United States, we would most certainly cause whoever perpetrated that act against us to have to pay an enormous price. Israel is doing that now. When I hear congressmen, responsible people who have been elected by their constituents talking about Israel as a terrorist organization, this is anti-Semitic. It is designed to support organizations that are intent upon the destruction of Israel. And then make no mistake about it, while the responsibility falls on Hamas and the PIJ, in the end, the United States has a role to play here too. I'm glad to see the administration so far hasn't demanded that the brakes be put on by Israel, but we could provide even more support. And all of this is going on against the backdrop of the United States having made a decision to underwrite the Palestinian Authority, to provide money to the Palestinians. Why Americans are providing money to the Palestinians while the Palestinians are conducting terror operations against our friend and ally Israel is a real head-scratcher for me.
What do you say, Mr. Secretary, to critics of Israel and of the way the Biden administration who is handling this, who say, look, you might not agree that the Palestinians should have their own homeland at this point, but they are human beings. They deserve to live with dignity and some form of human rights in the Palestinian territories, and essentially Israel is making this sort of apartheid-like state within Israel. What do you say? What is the pushback to that?
Yeah. Well, Jillian, the core point is correct. Every human being has the right to have their fundamental rights respected and to be able to live in the way that they so desire. Our administration recognized that. We laid out a peace plan that would have made life better for people both in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank. We were intent upon that. We know those lives matter as well. But what is happening here today is a terrorist attack on civilians inside of Israel designed to create capacity and power for Hamas and, frankly, for Iran as well, financially providing support to Hamas and to the PIJ coming from Tehran. We want the Palestinian people to be successful. What Hamas is doing is going to, frankly, harm Palestinians more than it'll probably end up harming Israelis. I hope the Palestinians can figure out how to get their act together. For an awfully long time, they have just said no to peace and used violence to try and achieve their ends. That will not be successful. The Abraham Accords proved that, and I hope the Palestinians can see that this attack on Israel today is immoral, it is terrorist, and it needs to be stopped.
So let's take now a look internally at the crisis within the United States. 13 states plus D.C. are suffering this gas shortage after the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack. As of this morning, 86% of pumps in D.C. totally dry. The president's telling Americans to be patient. But meanwhile, Colonial reportedly paid Russian dark side hackers $5 million to restore the flow. Take a listen, Mr. Secretary, to President Biden on Russia's involvement.
We do not believe the Russian government was involved in this attack, but we do have strong reason to believe that the criminals who did the attack are living in Russia. That's where it came from. We're from Russia. We have been in direct communications with Moscow about the imperative for responsible countries to take decisive action against these ransomware networks.
What do you say to that, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Jillian, yeah, this has been a real bad week for the Biden administration. My wife tried to get gas yesterday in Virginia, three different gas stations. Finally, sat in line for a bit and was able to get it. That was good news for the Pompeos. The Biden administration needs to take this seriously. Now, having allowed the company to hand over $5 million, sounds like they paid it in cryptocurrency,
right,
will only encourage this further. We need to make sure that our defenses are right, and then the administration. I'll take President Biden at his word at this. They need to do more than talk to the Russians. They need to impose real costs on them. If it was the United States from which this had emanated, if an American criminal had conducted an attack on some foreign infrastructure somewhere in the world, I promise you people would be demanding that the United States fix the problem. The Russians need to fix this problem. If in fact it emanated from there, we know they can do so, and the fact that they have not certainly implicates them in what took place here.
So the White House also said yesterday that essentially because this is a private company, Colonial Pipeline, that is being asked to ransom, they cannot stop them from paying a foreign organization in Russia the $5 million that they're asking for. My question is, why not? Doesn't the State Department all the time, the U.S. government, prevent American families from raising and paying ransoms to foreign terrorist organizations? What is the real practical difference here? Why can't we stop a private company from paying this type of ransom?
So, Jillian, it's pretty complicated. If private companies want to take this kind of action, you know, they often can do that. But make no mistake about it, the United States can have an awful lot of influence, the capacity to encourage businesses to behave in a way that's consistent with what we think is in the best interest of the broader infrastructure. And so the decision that may well have been made by Colonial or Colonial's insurers, I don't know, to pay this ransom will have real ramifications. Every pipeline out there, every provider of electricity who's got wireline infrastructure, each of these companies now is under threat that the same criminals that conducted this attack will see that, well, you can make $5 million or $10 million or maybe $50 million on the next throw. This is a bad example. It's the wrong direction. I hope that the administration did everything they could do to discourage this company from paying this ransom. It will not prove something that lives on in a way that benefits the United States of America in securing our energy infrastructure.
One quick thing I want to drill down on you with before I let you go, because it's important. The president said yesterday they're not really considering retaliatory action in cyberspace against whichever Russian entity is behind this hack. Do you agree with that position?
No, that's a mistake. If we can identify who did this, if we can use cyber tools to prevent them from doing this again and impose real costs on them connected to doing this again in a way that doesn't jeopardize some important intelligence capability that we have, we ought to do it. We ought to do it each time, every time, and we should impose truly, truly harsh consequences on those who would undertake what was an act inside the United States that had cost hundreds of millions of dollars in damage and disrupted lives for Americans all across the eastern seaboard. It's ridiculous to think that we should just let this go away.
Certainly seems that way on the surface of things, but as you say, Mr. Secretary, a lot of these national security issues, especially cyber, are a lot more complicated than they appear. Thanks so much for breaking it down for us today in a way we can all understand. We appreciate it, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good day.